This webinar is sponsored by our longstanding sponsor, CHTA supporter, and now strategic partner, STR. STR is a source for premium data, benchmarking, analytics, and marketplace insights. They provide data that's reliable, accurate, and actionable, and comprehensive solutions that empower their clients to strategize and compete within their markets, which is what this webinar is all about. They have a variety of an ample range of products that includes data-driven solutions, thorough analytics, and unrivaled market insights. And today, the two presenters that you will get to meet during this webinar are Fatima Thompson, who is the Associate Director of Business Development, Hotels for STR, and Rico Lau, Client Account Manager for STR. So, Fatima, are you there?
Yes, I am.
There she is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give Fatima the floor, and we're going to transfer over to her desktop. Let's just give her the system a minute to transfer over.
Okay.
And there we go.
Okay, thank you so much, Adriana. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fatima Thompson, and as Adriana mentioned, I am the Associate Director of Business Development here at STR, and it's a pleasure to be with you via phone today. We appreciate your interest in learning more about STR. Whether you are a current participant and would like to gain additional insight, or if you are considering joining our program, this webinar will help you understand the ins and outs of benchmarking and how it can play a vital role in the management of your hotel strategies, especially in the aftermath of these recent natural disasters. Today we will be, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We need to, we are right now can't see your presentation. You need to make your desktop viewable.
Hold on just 1 second. Apologize for that.
No worries. We're out there. There we go.
Okay. So sorry about
Thank you.
Technical difficulties sometimes. All right. Today we will be covering 5 different topics plus an opportunity for questions in the next 30 minutes. The plan is to give you a brief overview of who is STR, provide you with a high-level overview of the Caribbean, understand better why benchmarking matters, a brief data 101, and finally, the role of strategy development that will allow you to put in place what you learned today. So before I talk a little bit about, an overview of the Caribbean and what we're seeing so far, I thought it might be useful to give you a couple of slides that validate where all this great insight information comes from. Okay. So STR is the recognized leader in hotel benchmarking. We collect data on 73% of all U.S. hotel rooms. We also collect data from 175 countries outside of the United States, representing 53,000 hotel customers and 7.2 million rooms. So what role does STR fulfill in the hotel industry? Where we are an independent third party, STR obtains confidential performance data from clients, maintain strict rules to ensure data integrity, protect confidentiality, and never isolate a single hotel's data. STR makes aggregated data available for competitive benchmarking purposes and provides an accurate representation of industry performance. As Adriana mentioned, STR and CHTA have been working together for many, many years. And the purpose of this partnership is to track the lodging performance of the Caribbean region so that we may better serve you. Because of our partnership, we are able to offer STR reports as a member benefit. So how can hotels get involved? Well, currently we have 2 options available to you through your membership with CHTA. The first option is the hotel survey, which is going to allow you to measure your property against the market. This report is available for free to CHTA members. Then we offer the STAR report, which is going to allow you to select a competitive set, and you are going to be measured against that competitive set and also the market that you're in. We currently offer a 25% off discount for the first year subscription to CHTA members. So what kind of information will you receive on this report monthly? Well, you are going to see historical information on your occupancy, average daily rate, and revenue per available room. Participation is pretty easy. You submit every month. Your information takes less than 5 minutes, and you do that through our secure website. The report is delivered to you via an Excel format, and the most important part is that your individual information is kept confidential. So now let's take a look at how the Caribbean is performing so far. So looking at the Caribbean hotel industry key statistics, year-to-date numbers, we continue to see a small growth on ADR and RevPAR, just a small decline on occupancy, but that's really something that we were expecting. Obviously, the impacts of the hurricanes Irma and Maria, we're going to probably be able to see it a little bit more clearly in the next couple of months, because right now with 1 month worth of data, we cannot really study, what was the real impact. However, what I wanted to actually bring out is the fact that last year the Caribbean was experiencing, this huge situation with the Zika, but, so far we have been seeing, a growth again on those ADR and RevPAR, and this has been happening for the past 6 months. So, definitely, good news. Giving you some historical information, here we're looking at the occupancy percent change and the ADR percent change, 12 months moving average. And looking at that year, 2009 and 2010, obviously this is when the recession was happening, and the Caribbean obviously, saw that major decline. But then when things started to improve for the region, that healthy occupancy have led to a steady ADR growth for many years. Looking at that RevPAR percent change, 12 months moving average, again, looking at that major decline in 2009 and 2010, when things started to improve RevPAR, we have seen that grow for almost 5 years. So I think that just kind of gives us a little bit of indication that, yeah, things are going to happen in the Caribbean. You guys will be dealing with hurricanes, situations that sometimes, you're not really preparing for it. But when the region starts to recover, this is something that kind of maintains. So how does the Caribbean compare to resort destination area? Here we're looking at places like Hawaii, Cancun, Florida, and also the Caribbean. Looking at that actual occupancy, September 2016 year-to-date versus September of 20 versus year-to-date numbers, we're actually seeing growth on most of these destinations. The Caribbean just had that small decline, but nothing significant. Looking at that actual ADR growth, we're actually seeing growth in all these regions, including the Caribbean, but definitely Hawaii is the one with the highest average daily rate. Finally, taking a look at that RevPAR percent change, I would say that that combination of occupancy growth in most of these destinations with that, positive ADR, we're actually seeing gains in RevPAR in all these regions, including the Caribbean. You probably will be wondering about Cancun, and that is definitely the fact that they've been experiencing that currency exchange situation that have been really benefiting the country. Now let's take a look at what's actually coming into the pipeline for the Caribbean. Looking at the pipeline currently for the Caribbean, we have 27 projects currently in the in-construction phase, 26 projects currently in the final planning, 22 projects currently in the planning phase, for an active pipeline of 75 projects, which represent 17,253 new rooms that will be coming into the region. I just wanted to share with you guys the 3 largest projects currently in the Caribbean active pipeline. And those are the Royal Santa Vera Resort that is currently in the Dominican Republic. It's currently in construction with 730 rooms. The Palladian Hotel Grand Jamaica Resort and Spa, this is in Jamaica, currently in the final planning with 850 rooms. And finally, the Celebration Jamaica Resort and Casino. This project is in Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's currently in the final planning with 2,000 rooms. So now that you know a little bit more about STR, let's go ahead and jump right into the importance of benchmarking with my colleague Rico Lau.
Thank you so much, Fatima. My name is Rico Lau. I hope to be your friendly voice, face, and contact here at STR. I am in client services, and I actually do these webinars one-on-one should you need to, even try to help with concept changes or distribution lists. We are there to aid you through this. Now, when we look at the goals for benchmarking, there's a quote that comes in mind, and it is, if it can be measured, it can be improved. So these 5 circles, these 5 groupings really walk us through. Benchmarking is about comparing yourself, comparing your performance, and therefore we can better it. We can actually tune it. It allows us to keep a good eye on what's going on in the market. Hence, we have up to 3 years data on our reports. This data will lend you a perspective, a horizon, and understand where you can push. If you're going to drive your RevPAR by occupancy or ADR, you can measure it here. Also, the 4th point is less gut and more data to drive into those better decisions where you can strategize. And ultimately, it allows you to monitor. That means you can look back and validate that the decisions you took did yield a result, and therefore you can actually prove that the strategy is working. To follow, I am going to show you how benchmarking works. We have your property. In black, those are your clients. And you know kind of what's the rate going on in the area from probably having a cup of coffee with your competitor. Now, how do you validate that data? How do you make it successful? And that's thanks to our third-party STR report. What we do is we're able to show how a hotel, even with a growth of 7%, Hotel B had a loss, a negative mark of 3% in RevPAR. When you have competitive data at hand, you can validate how well you're doing. So we saw Hotel A had 7% growth, which was, to me, at first sight, the best. But his competitors had a 15% growth. Yet, that negative mark with Hotel B was much less than what the actual competitors had. Therefore, Hotel B in this picture is the more successful. There is benchmarking for you. We've, through the time, designed a revenue strategy cycle, which I am really glad that I can share with you. It looks like this. We analyze the report, we identify. Remember that this report is not a critique. This report is to help you improve. From there, we develop, we build the strategy, and we monitor at the final phase. Always analyzing the big picture, what's going on, what's happening in the market. You will even see in our report there's a little quadrant designed for pipelines, so you'll be able to analyze how many rooms are coming in into your market or region. You can identify year-over-year surface markers. So say you have a negative percent change this year, but last year was even beyond, and you can look at the comp set and you can mark theirs too. You can identify opportunities, ADR or occupancy, which one are you going to drive? You can develop a strategy. Sharing the report can validate, but ultimately you can really put down on paper what is your intention. And last, again, I think just the opportunity to be able to monitor and validate your efforts has a lot to say, especially in front of a team. So how much time should be employed into these functions? We see that the best practices, they use 30% in the analyze, the most time is the identifying, and I think you do that at a monthly glance, at a monthly visit to the report, and then as needed. The development should happen maybe at the start of the year with a restructured comp set, and then you move forward, and that strategy is to be executed and monitored. That's more of just laying eyes on what's going on. How to use the STAR report? I think it's important to really go into some language features here. Sorry if I'm being redundant, but we measure key performance indicators into these three subjects: occupancy, average daily rate, or ADR, RevPAR, and revenue per available room, which is the RevPAR. That's how your whole building, the pulse of the building is doing. So by benchmarking or comparing yourself to competitors and market segments, and with tracking over time, you can easily see how you're improving or pushing those rates. Fatima earlier mentioned, really easy to participate. I will show you that. But those three pieces there that you see, the rooms available, rooms sold, and the revenue, net revenue associated to that room sale, will let us formulate all the key performance indicators discussed above. So, understanding the lingo, maybe I'm trying to make you sound like a millennial revenue manager here, but it's important. We call the competitive set a comp set, and we have guidelines, which I will also share information on further down the presentation. You have occupancy. Do not worry about the formulas. They are available on the sample report on our website. Should you have a STAR report, these formulas are part of your help tab. Commonly ignored, unfortunately, but always present. ADR. ADR goes to what is your rate on a daily basis. We will also formulate that in a monthly report. RevPAR, the pulse of that building, revenue per available room. Index, really important. This is another way of saying market share. What we've done is we've taken your specific key performance indicator and divided it by the concept's key performance indicator, and then we multiply it by 100. So we've literally created a percentage. The way to read that is, if your index is over 100, you are eating somebody else's cheese. You are taking some of the concept's market share. Percent change, one of our favorite metrics. We love to show year over year how things compare, and the beauty of our reports being in Excel is you can copy paste these metrics and make your own graphs if you're a visual person, but there again, the percent changes are included. In my next slide, I'm actually going to go into the time periods that are illustrated in our reports. Current month, straightforward. Year to date, literally collecting from January to the month that we have processed. Running 3 months will actually be the last 3 months. We will show you the aggregate of those 3 months, percent changes, and also do the same for the comp set and benchmark you. We do it as well with the running 12, so 12 months aggregated. And in your comp set, there's an option. Standard is to exclude you, compare you directly to your comp set. But there is an option if you would rather see that comp set as a market, because you're all on neighbors, you can understand that data as a market in itself. You could include yourself. Do not get, don't get too, I would say, involved with this. Standard is to exclude you, to do true benchmarking as a default in our reports. This beautiful bright orange cover will hit you once a month, kind of around the 20th of the month once we process the month before. We kind of live in the past here at STR. Those links that you see in the table of contents are hyperlinked. You could click on them and they would take you straight to the report. The important data is the period. We are currently looking at a marvelous hotel named Any Hotel. The currency is at the top as well, and of course the STR number, which is vital when you're asking questions about your property, because that ties your hotel, your data to that file. I always jump to the 5th tab. This is where I can validate the quality of our data. As you can see to the far right, in the period where actually this report is a little old, it's from June 2015, but everybody there in my competitive set, as you can see, Any Hotel at the top, and then hotels A, B, C, D, E, and F, they all reported in that month. That means that the quality of this report is very good. This would be a glance at the June data. If you look at that orange top line, you can see right below, listed in columns, is occupancy by your property, the comp set, and that market share. ADR does the same in the middle, RevPAR at the far right, and below you are actually seeing percent changes. So you will see June 2015 versus last year, or the year before, sorry, 2014, and those are the percent changes. Your property, the comp set, and the market share. Just at a glance, this property here, Any Hotel, is actually losing some. You can see the percent change. They've lost some occupancy, yet they grew some ADR, and their RevPAR therefore was flat. So good job. This is a really important slide. This is actually what we will benchmark you against every time you get your STAR report. The reason I say this is important, this is also an active view of what your contribution by participating with STR and CHTA is enriching the data in the subcontinent of the Caribbean, in the market, which is STR defined in the Caribbean. It's usually down to an island. We have very few islands that actually have a split sub-market, but we would try to narrow it down, bring the focus in as far as we can. That also is dependent on participation. And should you go with the version with a subscription that Fatima mentioned that has a discount the first year with CHTA, that would show you your selected comp set or competitive group. Very important. Now here is probably the report that we use the most. This is a sample report, so please ignore all those little numbers. There are many of them. Let me navigate you through how to look at this. I want you to pay attention to the orange boxes. Those are your occupancy, your ADR, and your RevPAR. As you can see in my comments, columns going down are time periods and year over year. The rows are your key performance indicators laid out through that period. And in those columns, in those rows, those are illustrated by your property, your comp set, and index. I'm going to go forward to the next slide, and this here is the graph. This is for the ones that are more image-driven. Those are your 18 months laid out. The dotted line that you see is the index. That's the 100% mark. So any hotel is eating somebody else's cheese very finely, especially in the green, which is ADR, and the RevPAR, as they're high above that index marker. That's a nice reference at a glance. For the more number-driven, there you are. You have 18 months laid out from about the middle of the rows. And you have also, I'm going to show it in a zoom, those are your year-to-date, the running 3-month and the 12-month period that I described earlier, but on 3 year-over-year periods. I also circled the 3 out of 7. That's ranking. You understand and know well those hotels in your comp set. We will tell you where you placed, down to 13 decimal points. So if things are really equal, you will be seeing where you stack. It's a really good reference. This is our industry report. I am going to circle at the top. You can see there's currency, but right underneath is where that is how much data we're able to show you without breaking our compliance rules, making sure that everything is confidential. We're able to show you the Caribbean as an industry. I'm going to show you the row that would be there right underneath your data. So that is your second benchmarking reference. For those properties that actually are engaged on a weekly reporting schedule, their weekly report would look like this, where we show them key performance indicators by every day of the week. We'll actually narrow it down to where we can show them how weekdays and weekends they did. But that maybe is a whole nother conversation. Okay, how to enter data. When you come on board with us, we will ask for a data contact, and that data contact will be given an account. They will go on to str.com, and at the top of the toolbar, I circled data. This whole imagery, this portal will come up. Very important is to select the period. Once you do that, most of you guys in the Caribbean, you do monthly data, and that is obviously what Fatima was mentioning, 5 minutes of your time once a month to give us that raw data. And what you will do is select the month that this pertains to. As a little warning, should we not have data of a past month, it would turn up red, and you'd be able to submit that data and complete your report as we show you 18 months of historical data. In the circle below, once you select the month, the system will auto-populate your rooms available. Say you have 100 rooms and it is a 31-day month, that would be 3,100 rooms that would populate there. You would key in how many you sold, the net revenue associated with it would go in next. Should you wish to do segmentation, the boxes below are where you actually break down that initial row in the circle by transient, group being mainly weddings in your region, so something interesting to track, and contract rooms, which would be airlines that have contracted rooms throughout, not commonly known down there. But the magic button is submit. We would receive the data, and your graphs, next time you log in, they would be updated. As our resources, again, at str.com, you can find product tutorials. The videos do not have my voice, so I'm sorry about that. but they are very, very informative and walk you through. I think in educating your team, it's a great resource to send them there. Also, documents and guidelines on how to report, should you have maybe a special scenario, a timeshare. Please do write me an email if you have a question. My information will be at the end. I am your friendly contact here, but you can reference all our documents. As a quick tip, should you be a data-driven person, all our publications, they go to hotelnewsnow.com. It is a quick sign-up, and it is a wealth of free knowledge. I highly suggest it every time I can share that. I do. Let us move on, and I'm going to take a little moment to talk about guidelines because of your region. For all your all-inclusive, we highly suggest, we actually promote you to use segmentation because all-inclusive would like to see a total revenue per available room, and that is acquired when you use segmentation. So it becomes a very rich and informative report for that purpose. Should you not be an all-inclusive, I still think that if you have group revenue, group business, it would be, I would really recommend you to sort of look at that segmentation piece. Another little comment on how to report on mixed ownership properties, timeshares. I also have dealt with apartments and so forth. I just want to plant a seed in everyone's thoughts, and that is, we aim to be consistent, and these rules with timeshare, their inventory is not. So we will advertise then to choose a consistent inventory number for the year, and hence that we say that in scenario number 1, thanks to that consistent number, we're able to benchmark and help you with percent changes year over year as well. I come to my final slide. It is all about what I would wish that you take away with this presentation. We see that the Caribbean holds positive despite Zika. Your percent changes are not as deep, so that is positive. I will also say I've been reading up on hurricane post recovery. You hotel people are incredible. You will lend your hotel to help FEMA or relief folks. We can show this. So I think what's ahead is great. Even in a recovery phase, we may not be driving ADR, but for sure we've seen in the past that you are supportive, and that has been shown in your occupancy. STR reports, we truly have seen that the practices in the industry yield to better knowing your decisions. We would want you to adopt benchmarking and actually have a notion of how to move forward in comparing your property to that set or market and their key performance indicators. And my last point is, by reporting to a third party, you're actually banking your data with a very safe entity, and the STAR report can come in ultimately very handy when you are talking to somebody. Maybe you are having an evaluation done on your property. Believe me, the STAR report has been used in that aspect. So best practices is always good, a good habit to take on. With this, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Adriana, and we're going to open it up for questions with the presentation. Thank you so much, Adriana.
Thank you, Rico. All right. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. All righty. We do have a few questions here. Stephanie Zaria is asking if you could explain a little bit more on how you ensure reporting is transparent and accurate.
Wonderful, Chris. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
We use the standard accounting rules, so we never wrote those. We abide by them, hence that we have our guidelines. Those guidelines measure the data that comes in, and then, so that's the transparency portion of it. But what we make sure that also happens is we have checks in place with our system. Say somebody keyed in something wrong, so our system catches that. Now, if you are concerned about how we handle your data, we have multiple checks, again, through guidelines that protect your data. If you kind of look at our STAR report, you never saw the raw data in the report. You always saw the key performance indicators. So it takes a person that knows the formulas or to read the help tab, remember that, to kind of revert back to understanding what was your performance. But because we always talk in key performance indicator language, we're actually not really reporting your revenue or anything in front of anyone. We always post your data. If you are included in a comp set, it's always an aggregate. We never take your data and do the key performance indicators and then do an average because we had 6 properties. We actually add up all the rooms, and then we add up all the rooms, we add up all the rooms sold, and we add up all the room revenue for that comp set, and then we apply that. So you become part of a pool. Again, it's keeping you safe. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Alrighty, we have an ask, actually. This is more of an ask than a question. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Aronvel Roseman, he is asking, is it possible to give CHTA members a free trial, or is that so that they can see how efficient the report would be for individual companies? Is there a way that they could do a test drive, basically, is what they're wondering?
Well, the great thing about it is that if you are interested in sign up for the report and you actually, are listening to this webinar, we will be more than happy to, provide you with 3 months of free, like a trial for the STAR report. If you're a property, if you have never participated with us before, we'll be happy to do that, trial for 3 months to see if this is something that, will work for you. Every property is different. We help properties to actually look at, selecting your concept. We're not consultants, so we can help you, give you a little bit of an indication of, who is participating within your market. If maybe you need to look at another island because your property is a little bit different. So during the course of those 3 months, we will definitely give you support, and we will provide you with, that trial so that you can see if this is a good fit for you.
Hey, Adriana, I'd like to add that the free STAR report is ideal, but that's a bonus what Fatima threw in there, that they would even get a comp set. Just remember that they would need to submit quite a bit of data, which is quite an effort. So we can cater, absolutely, help them, but that would be great if they just wanted to see a report. We would help them, especially in customer service. Yeah. And, anybody that is interested in, knowing a little bit more about any of those 2 reports, they can contact me directly. My contact information will be at the end of this webinar, and I will be more than happy to, provide them with samples and just kind of help them get on board.
Great. One thing I wanted to let people know is that this presentation that you just saw, you're going to be getting the actual presentation, a copy of it. So if there was a particular slide you really wanted to look at, you wanted to look at closer, you want a particular graphic or data that you really wanted to look at, you're going to be getting this. So, and you're going to get a copy of the webinar. So no concerns there. And let's see, we have Tariq Brown. He wanted to ask, how can we sign up for market reports without submitting? We aren't a traditional hotel product, so submitting is not practical. And he writes from terracaribbean.com.
Well, I would suggest the first thing to do is to sign up at hotelnewsnow.com. That would be my first suggestion. Once you've signed up, there are tons of presentations, of data dash, there's so much good stuff, and it's free. Now, also, I think the membership with CHTA, I would like to highlight that, because he's going to get a lot of information through you guys, because we are partners.
That is absolutely true. Thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you. So I think that's another one. But maybe I would really highlight that for the success of the region, and think about it like budgeting. If you're going to do a budget, then the more data, the richer the data that the Caribbean region in our system is a subcontinent. So it's a big region. The more data we have, the richer it is. I am happy, I'm willing to work through that strange situation that they have and qualify or disqualify him, but I would love to give my time to make sure that they are getting the right answer.
What more could you want? Okay, so I would recommend, and those of you that have questions, contact Rico. You're going to have his information, and I'm sure they're more than willing to assist and help you out. I have another question here. It says, my property is seasonal. How do I report data during a seasonal closure?
Wonderful. We're getting the good questions. So seasonal properties will actually be set up in our census department, who are the ones that take care of the property files. Let me give an example. Let's say that they seasonally close August and September. That will be set up in the file, and automatically your inventory is zero. You will still receive your star report, because we know we're not going to get data from you because you close seasonally every month, the same months every year. So that's actually part of our reporting guidelines. So you can find that in the resource page. There's a whole section about it. But yeah, that's not an issue.
Okay, great. And it says, what happens if a hotel in my comp set doesn't participate?
Another great question. So let us be a little more specific. Let's say that one hotel, Jesus, the revenue manager, did not get the data in on time, right? So the data is missing on that one property. We would hate to lose them not reporting, but let's say that their data is late. We have methodologies set up in our system that take data from the region, data from the market, historical data from that property, and we will literally build what we presume is the score, because we want to keep it consistent. This also helps against isolation, because imagine that revenue manager then wakes up and says, oh, my data is late. He gets it in, and when you get your next report, if you see that he was missing the month before and then he caught up, when you put those two reports side by side, you would know what he's doing. But because I don't want to use the word model because that's a different thing, but we build the data to keep consistencies. That's what we would do. And I actually have a document that goes more into depth about methodology of what happens when a property does not report. But our system protects that property that forgot to report.
Awesome. Okay, and here's one more question. If I wanted to get an individual hotel's data, how could I do that?
You cannot. You cannot get individual data. You can only get your own. Let me tell you, I cannot take a star report and attach it to my email and send it to Bob. All star reports are handled and managed through a system and a distribution list. You as a star report owner will tell us the email addresses that will receive your star report. It is that strict. So we do not share an individual hotel key performance indicator. That is completely against our promise to keeping your data safe. Now, is it your own hotel and you're on the distribution list? Then I can have a conversation with you.
So that there's no issue regarding security. If you're concerned about submitting data and then having your information shared everywhere, it will not happen.
It does not happen. That will not happen. Correct.
And to add to Rita's explanation, all our reports are aggregated data. So, it's very difficult to find an individual property's data. And that would probably tie a little bit with the question before that talks about what about if, a property in my concept do not report. If there is any chance to isolate a property, we will not send that report out. And then we will actually talk to the client about it. But, for us, confidentiality is very important. So that's definitely one of the things that we want to make sure that the properties to sign up feel comfortable, understanding that, your data will always remain confidential, if you decided to participate with STR.
Great, and that kind of leads into what I'm afraid is going to be our last question. So if anybody else has any more questions, please go ahead and submit them, but they will be answered probably via email by Fatima or Rico. So the last question is, how do you participate? How do you get started? If you, after listening to all of this, you're saying, okay, I'm in, what are the actions you need to take?
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, before, because of the partnership that we have with CHTA, you can actually get access to this report. You can choose between getting the free version, which I personally think is a great way to start. You will get the high-level information about your market. And if you already know that you have a selected competitive set and you kind of want to have that custom report, you can definitely go for the star report and just, send me an email and let me know I'm ready to, come on board. We will go ahead and send you an enrollment form, get you set up in our system. And the most important thing is that during the course of that year's subscription, you will have support. Rico will be, assisting you. He's the account manager for the region. So he's, very available. So if you need to have that one-on-one because you need to go through that report, he will be happy to do that. If you want to have a call with your team because you want them to understand better the benchmarking, tool, we can do that. And this doesn't cost you nothing. So again, a very simple, process. This is a membership benefit for you. So you should consider taking advantage of this. And yeah, just send me an email, Fatima or fthompson@str.com. Again, my information will be included in the presentation, and we will be more than happy to get on board and to answer any questions that you have regarding the process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for those of you actually, because this was an open webinar, so those of you that are listening that are not CHTA members, it's great to be a member. You do have a lot of wonderful benefits, and this is just one of them. So if you are interested in being a CHTA member, please contact our Director of Membership, Marta Valdivia, and her email is marta@caribbeanhotelandtourism.com. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar. And I can't tell you how valuable this kind of information is, because in a world where we're all drowning with information, there's so much change, there's so much going on, it is invaluable to really have data, verified, actionable data, where you can make data-driven decisions for your business. And that's what STR is giving you, a way to clear the clutter and actually make decisions that will make a difference for your business today and tomorrow. So thank you guys so much for participating and for doing this for everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And again, Fatima and Rico's information will be emailed to you later today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to them or to CHTA, and we'll be happy to help you out with anything you need. With that, thank you so much for spending part of your morning with us. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.